From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Braden Neville.
On today's episode, we check in from day one of the CFL Combine in Winnipeg, where players, coaches, and GMs have arrived, including Ticats head coach and offensive coordinator Scott Milanovich, as well as general manager Ed Hervey, and they discuss their process of scouting players and more. It's Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, and this is Ticats Today. Players from across Canada have touched down in Winnipeg today. We heard from GMs and coaches at the media availability, and what's a big week in the CFL. Players won't start the Combine until Thursday. That's when we'll see those popular events like the bench press and the 40-yard dash. And then on Sunday, they will have the individual drills and practice session where they'll perform in front of scouts from all 9 teams across the CFL, including head coach Scott Milanovich and general manager Ed Hervey, who spoke today.
Yeah, I think with respect to the Combine, it's an opportunity for us to have a chance to interview players, get to know them. We watch them on film. We have a lot of information, and the 20 minutes that we get in interviewing them gives us a chance to meet them, understand them, and then we have some questions. The on-field stuff, you get a chance to see how they compete, get a chance to really look at them, get body types, measurable, see who's been working. But I think a lot of it, for at least for myself, is the film work that goes into the process of getting here. And then the next step is getting to know them, the medical history, and then after that, really where they fit and where the coach's evaluation comes in and how it all meshes together, and being able to select the right players that fit into what we're doing and what we're trying to do moving forward. I think that's the importance for myself.
Yeah, I would piggyback what Ed says. There's no substitute for game action. I will say the interviews, I think, are critical. Just getting a feel for the personality. And there are some things that you can pick up in person that you can't on film. But, the interactions with the other teammates that these guys are going to have in the next 4 or 5 days, those things are important. But I still think there's a fine line between reading too much into a 40 time or a vertical jump or a one-on-one rep over the next 5 days, as opposed to watching a guy's playing speed and what they do when it really matters. But just getting to know them, I think, is the biggest thing for me.
Our responsibility during free agency is to look at all possible options on how to improve our football team. And I think our fans deserve for that to happen, with us to look at players and see anyone who hits the market, for us to reach out, contact them, and talk. And then again, there's an interview process. There's that whole communication week that allows us to do those things. And then with respect to interest levels, he's a national player. When you're out trying to improve your national content on your football team, those are questions that you ask yourself. Whether this player fits, how this player can come in and do things. So, yeah, to answer your question, were we looking? Yes, we were looking, but I think we talked to pretty much every free agent that was available that we felt could help our football team. Now, whether or not things were going to happen or those things were going to come to fruition, there's 2 sides to that. But I have no shame in admitting that, we could definitely kick the tires to see, because we're all about trying to improve our roster and improve our football team. We weren't just sitting around just waiting and hoping for people to join us. We wanted to be aggressive and see how people felt about the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
I think you need to go back a few years. I know obviously it's been much written about that he hasn't had the success the last couple of years that he would have hoped. I'm not going to get into names, but there's other quarterbacks that have been Hall of Famers, as Bo will be, that had a little lull in their career. But Levi Mitchell didn't forget how to win Grey Cups. He didn't forget how to throw the football. I saw that firsthand. His competitive spirit, obviously I didn't know him prior, but I can attest to the fact that his competitive spirit, his love for the game, his intensity level, his ability to lead, all those things are still there. And speaking from my perspective solely here, I believe he's going to have a really great bounce back year. He's going to have to prove that on the field. And I would say that if he was sitting next to me right now. But there's nothing that I'm seeing. I know he had some injuries over the years. His arm strength is fine. He had an injury last year. He's healthy from that. We need to keep him healthy. I need to put him in better situations to have an opportunity for him to be successful early and often throughout the year. And we're talking about why the question was, why do you believe the face of your organization can be Bo Levi Mitchell, who's, I think everybody would admit, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. So he's been in a little bit of a slump. We're going to help him out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I like to believe that, with all optimism that it was going to get done. I think, when it comes to free agency, these things are never personal. And I think that's kind of what gets thrown out there, is that there's a belief that there's a disconnect between the agent and the team, or the player and the team. And, the way we handle our protocols is all business was handled through the agent. Communication was daily. But we also, I think both sides was very aware of the market and had to let the market play out. But from there, did we think that we were going to lose Tim White? Tim White was a priority for us. And we, Scott and I had talked about it, and we were all in lockstep with that. But it was a decision that Tim had to come to with respects to where the market was going to go and where he wanted to finish his career.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think, Justin, I stayed in contact with Tim without trying to hound him. Obviously, just letting him know how much he meant to us and that we wanted him back. And as far as the numbers and the contract and things, I don't get involved in that. I think Ed and I are on the same page, and I know he's going to do what's right for the organization first and foremost, and then do what's right for the players. So, as a coach, I think sometimes you have to some degree, prepare for the worst case. I know I'm kind of made that way, but obviously was really pleased when we were able to get him back. That's a big piece for our offense.
Again, free agency is an interesting time for players and for teams, right? Because there's so much unpredictability with that. But given the situation, we went into free agency prepared in understanding where our priorities were. And again, that number was something that was floating around, but until something becomes a reality, you don't know how you're going to respond to it. But I think from our perspective, we really looked at it as Tim was a priority for our football team, but we were so far apart with respect to expectation. I believe that the market had to go and show what it was capable of, and then from there we were able to find a resolution. And then clearly, through our efforts, Tim proved, to be someone that was a priority for us. And obviously we were successful to get Tim for more than 1 year, which I think bodes well for both sides.
Probably didn't have time to build the relationships that you would like with the defensive side of the ball, but it has given me a heads up from an offensive perspective. I know a lot of our players. I got to coach them. I know what they're capable of. I know from a mental standpoint how much is too much for them. And then the other thing that I think, especially to be the head coach, where that changes is just knowing everybody in the organization, knowing Scott Mitchell, knowing the personnel staff, training staff, equipment, all those things that when you become a new head coach at someplace you've never been, it takes time. And then those are relationships that take away from the time that you have assembling a staff, putting an offense, defense, special teams together. So this is my third go around, and I can tell you the transition has been significantly smoother this time around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel the same way, is that having the opportunity to not only work with and the guys, but having a chance to have Scott come into the building later in the year and really get a chance to know. I knew a lot about him, and obviously friends of mine that I'm close to in the league and spoke very highly of him. So you get a chance to watch and witness his work ethic and his passion for the game. You know right away that everyone's going to be able to work together because the common cause is about winning. And then with that experience, getting us to this point where our roles have changed, but the expectations are still the same. So I think from that, we're just going to continue to work to put the best product on the field and work in tandem to try to make sure that we're competitive enough to win a championship. Because I think I can speak when I say this, that's what we're in this for. You don't do this just to, just to be a part of it. You do it with the expectation to compete for championships, and that's what we're all about here.
Yeah, obviously I haven't been in the league the past few years, but it's also always been a huge part of your depth, of how you're going to manipulate the pieces of your team, how you're going to handle your roster. For that young man to make the plays that he made down the stretch to win a championship, I just think I feel like I've always been a little bit spoiled, Frank. I always feel like I've had really good Canadian content on the teams, even back when I was coaching in Montreal with Coach Trustman. And I thought Jim Barker did a nice job when we were in Toronto with guys like Andre Dur. So I think it's always been, that's why we're here, right? I think it's always been something that the staffs and organizations I've been a part of were very mindful of, and really understood that that's kind of the driving force behind this league and behind the roster.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really, and when you're going into these games, into the season, you're only as strong as the Canadian content that you're able to build. And young players are getting more opportunities. There's confidence in them to go out and make those plays. And I think that's a testament to the development of Canadians and the young players that you see league-wide. So when you go into games, I don't know if we go in and say he's a Canadian, he's American, and he's a global. Anyone that's on the field, as we see it, is expected to make plays. And regardless of who it is in the moment, we don't really look to say, oh, we got to get the ball to the Canadian to because we're, throwing people off. It's just whoever's called to make their play gets to make their play. And in this particular case, Tyson made it. And obviously this being the Canadian Football League, this is a proud country of its players. And hey, he should be proud for the plays that he made. But, our expectation this year is, hey, we're going to bring our guys and hope our guys can make those kind of plays as well.
That was head coach Scott Milanovich and general manager Ed Hervey. I'll keep you updated as the Combine goes on throughout the week. Before we go, the Ticats announced today that the club's longest-running community program, Kicks for Kids, returns for the 2024 season. This will be the program's 16th season, and in 2023, it raised $4,600 for new shoes for youth from various United Way, Halton, and Hamilton agencies. So the Kicks for Kids program uses the accomplishments of Tiger Cats kickers to raise money at every Tiger Cats home game. When any Ticats player successfully kicks a field goal at Tim Hortons Field of at least 40 yards, Carmen's group will donate $100 for every additional yard. So, for example, Mark Leggio kicks a 45-yard field goal. It equals $500 in donations, and all donations will be matched by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And on tomorrow's episode, we will have Tiger Cats kicker Mark Leggio himself on the show to discuss the great cause. That's all the time for today, but make sure to tune in tomorrow as we'll have Mark Leggio and Luther Hakunavanu.